So I can't save the world, says Rosemary Watola Traumer. I can't save even myself. Can't wrap my arms around every frightened child, can't foster peace among nations, can't bring love to all who feel unlovable. So I practice opening my heart, right here, in this room, and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street, heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, I'll practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed all the hungry. And sometimes daunted by a task too big, I tell myself, what's the use of even trying? But today, the invitation is clear. To be ridiculously courageous in love. To open the heart like a lilac in May, knowing freeze is possible, and opening anyway. And to take love seriously. To give love wildly. To race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance, to feel the shock of indifference and of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open. To love as if it matters. As if the world depends on it. I had to put her words back in my mouth before I said anything else. I sense I could speak these words every day. I could use it every day. And it sure does take courage to take this kind of love seriously and to give this kind of love wildly, especially in days such as these. Oh, it takes courage. Sometimes I have it. And it feels so good. You know what I mean? When your heart is just open to the changes, to the people, to the world. That undefended feeling, open. That's what a courageous heart is, open. Courage, it means heart. But much of the time, my just being a human, it distracts me from this, from what it takes to be open, or I tend to sometimes whittle it down to just a few drops a day. That's all I deserve. That's all I have to give. Or the world is some sort of a menu. I've talked about this before. Some get it, some don't. Portions. And sometimes I'm just too afraid for it. Afraid of being hurt. Afraid of change. Afraid of what I risk losing or gaining when I take love seriously and give love wildly. Oh, it's risky. And it's not easy in days such as this to seek for this kind of courage. Most of us want to be like wrestlers and tap out, and I get it. But don't tap out. That's my message to you today. Don't tap out. Don't. I used to tell a story early in my ministry, which I called my UU nightmare story. Here it is. It was my first time going under for a minor medical procedure, and I was really anxious. And the kind nurses and anesthesiologist did what they do in these situations in an effort to calm you down. They began asking questions about your life to take your mind off of things. Do you have kids? Where are you from? And then, so what do you do for work? A lot of ministers think that's like a dread question, and they come up with these alternate occupations, like, I'm a tax accountant. We're just going to leave it. Just going to leave it. But me, being in my first year or so of seminary, was like, well, I'm in seminary right now, actually. I'm entering the ministry. And the anesthesiologist asked, so what's your religion? Isn't it so funny that we all do, oh, no, not that. Please don't ask me that, because then I know what the next question's going to be. So I say, I'm a Unitarian-Universalist. Have you heard of our church? And at this point, maybe mercifully, the doctor arrives and things are now getting rolling, and I think the conversing is at its end, and I'm a bit relieved by this, and everyone seems now focused on their jobs. I'm feeling a bit better about things until that same anesthesiologist, immediately following his administering of the drugs, suddenly bursts out with, oh, I've heard about Unitarian Universalists. You're that church that believes whatever you want. Right. Okay, Sophia, get ready for a nice little nap. And I can literally remember my whole body and being fighting to stay awake, no, and lights out. Damn it. The wild thing is I've heard of other people having this story, and I don't know if there's some sort of an anesthesiological campaign against us. Why did they do that? Okay. Laughing is good. We need joy and ridiculousness, and we can't get too serious. And maybe it's these unsteady, high-stakes times we're living through that are making me a little crispy. Or maybe I have been rubbed so raw by the sandpaper of life these days, but these kinds of loosey-goosey, casual, reductive statements, they do make me want to tap out. No. Just no. We do not believe whatever we want. We are not that casual. And it sounds lazy. Doesn't it sound lazy? Scattered and unorganized? That is not who we are. And that is not what these times are asking for. You know, when our new values came into being, for those of you who are new to our tradition, they're only a few years old, but the language and the heft beneath them is much, much older than that, okay? But this wording and this kind of graphic, right? When they first came into being, I was supportive of them because I knew that even if they were imperfect, and even if there were still arguments about the wordsmithing, because we use in our wordsmithing, we could have just done it for 15 more years. And even if every last UU was not completely happy with them, and even though Jet Pig made many roll their eyes and heave sighs of impatience, because no, Jet Pig is not everyone's cup of tea, and yes, it's a little ridiculous. Even so, I was supportive of them because I was glad to know that a new generation of UUs and even, yes, our long-timers were being offered a more cleared path to faith fluency. I was happy of this. It was needed. Faith fluency, it offers us a kind of I think of these as coordinates, like on a map. That's what they are. For bringing what we personally believe into being and pointing the way, like instructions. Living lives that are the opposite of loosey-goosey and casual. That's what these coordinates offer. Being stuck in semantics or bemired in surface nuisances that keep us from the real conversation. That's what these coordinates offer us. Big neon arrows to the real conversation, below the surface. It points us to liberative, measured action, not just sitting around in our meditation rooms thinking about it and how maybe we don't like the word equity. Do something. Knowing what it is you believe in, this kind of faith fluency. It gives you courage. It helps put your finger on where you need to be more courageous. It shows you how to open your heart again and again and again, even when you don't like how things are going or the changes being made. It shows you what is required of you. This is what Unitarian-Universalism is. What we believe in. It is a religion trying to speak the language of courageous, action-oriented, embodied love spoken by thousands of tongues in thousands of ways and attempting as mere humans to help us do its bidding. That's what Unitarian Universalism is. Brother David Steindl-Rast suggests that the felt experience of love, which we could call the holy and a lot of other names, that experience of it, that the open-heartedness that Traumer's talking about, that felt experience of love, it's where all religions started. All of them. He says that there is no other way to start a religion. But, and this is him talking, but I compare this to a volcano that gushes forth this felt experience of love in the beginning. A volcano that gushes forth, and then the magma flows down the sides of the mountain and it cools off, and when it reaches the bottom, it's just rocks. And you'd never guess that there was fire in it. So after a couple hundred years, or 2,000 years, or more, what was once alive is dead rock. Doctrine, he says, becomes doctrinaire. Morals become moralistic. Ritual becomes ritualistic. What do we do with this? He asks. We have to push through this crust, he says, and go to the fire that's within it. That's the courageous love at the center of our faith. And it's hot. The real conversation and work of our religion in days such as these is no longer about whether or not we all like the same words or agree about God or are comfortable or not comfortable, the surface nuisances of our lives and in our communities that can suck up so much of our energies, or keep our churches looking like a pile of cold, static rocks, or forgetting about the fire in here. The real conversation and work of our religion is to not forget about the magma. And it takes courage to remember. It takes courage to remember. It takes courage to believe in that big stuff, in the heart, in the love. And really, my friends, what is the alternative? What is the alternative? Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd in 2016 preached a bold sermon, General Assembly Sunday service in Columbus, Ohio, where she invoked the New Testament in front of about 5,000 or 6,000 people. She's got courage. That classic wedding reading from Corinthians, which says, "If I speak in the tongues of mortals or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing." And she preached that this letter from the Apostle Paul to the early Christian community in Corinth has nothing whatsoever to do with weddings. That's a letter, she said, from an overextended pastor with occasionally dubious judgment to a congregation whose leaders are in a constant state of fierce and unremitting conflict. The early Christians in the Corinth congregation were literally shouting their prayers like clanging cymbals over atop one another to try and prove who was better at praying. They were making faith into a contest, she said, and whether he was saintly or not, Paul was having none of it. The collective wisdom of the ages reminds us that the stakes are high. They've been really high for a really long time. And that the ultimate prize we must reach out for in community is greater, far greater than the imagined divisions and surface nuisances that distract us from the real conversation. The one about a commanding and irresistible, courageous love that infiltrates every corner of our lives and into our pores and moves us to infiltrate the world with it. That's the real conversation. My friends, if following the call of courageous love feels impossible to you, it's just too heavy a burden. Community reminds us that we don't have to do it alone. Sunday comes around once again, week after week, and we remember it's not just on us. It's a shared task, this courageous love walk. And look, there's all these partners walking, moving together. So much so that I've had to add extra chairs at the back of the sanctuary, more carpets at the front for our kids. Sometimes you have to share your hymnals and we run out of orders of service on Sundays. Look how many of us there are trying to practice opening our hearts right here in this room and trying to be gentle with our insufficiencies so that we can go infiltrate the world with love. You ain't alone. We play with our kids in the social hall, and we hear about the new hearing aids, or the new job, or the lost job. We meet each other at the latest protest line or vigil, and we hug, and we cry. We sign up for chalice circles to tell the stories of our lives. We visit one another in hospitals. We courageously ask for a meal to be made when our own bodies give out. We risk things for justice. We sacrifice time with our families to do good in the world. We count the days, too, to the raucous joys of trivia night. because we need it like we need water. Or we bravely sing in the choir even if we can't read music. Or we dream together about a building whose insides speak the story of our trying. And we keep coming even if we are bothered or disappointed, bored, vexed, or on the verge of a meltdown. Flattened and divided by the news of the day, or so scared about losing things and change that we unintentionally do become those noisy bell clangers. And we become distracted, but we keep coming. We keep showing up. We keep trying to love. And we keep practicing asking for it. And I don't know about you, but I am placing my belief in that right now. And I can't really find the words to put my finger on what that is. I'm trying. I've written about 8 pages and 16 font, trying to find the words. But whatever that is that keeps you trying, keeps you in relationship, keeps you dreaming and imagining and changing even though you're grieving, stay with it. It's important. It's courageous. And if you have better words than I, please come on up here and share them. We all need each other's words, right? For now, I like the word fire. I like the words courageous love. I like the word risk. And I love the words open heart. Open heart. And I love you. And I'm glad to be in trying to find the words and also not letting them beat us down flat either, or keep us from getting out there. Thank you. Amen. Blessed be. Let us keep building this new way together, and even better, let's sing about it.